Welcome back to Unlocking Inner Peace. I'm your companion. In the past few episodes, we've journeyed quite extensively, from acknowledging life's low notes, understanding their causes, discovering the 8 golden keys to unlock peace, and most recently, in Episode 6, we contemplated the law of everything is always changing, a fundamental truth of the universe. Today, I want to invite you to dive a little deeper into one of the concepts that is perhaps the trickiest, but also one of the most powerful keys to liberation on the path to true peace. That is the idea of there is no fixed, unchanging self. Sounds a bit shocking and hard to accept, doesn't it? How can there be no me? I'm sitting here, thinking, feeling, talking. If there's no me, then who is doing all these things? Those are very natural questions, and I completely understand your concerns. No fixed self doesn't mean we don't exist, or that we are just nothingness. Not at all. It means that what we often mistake for a solid, separate, unchanging self, a real master reigning within us, actually doesn't exist in the way we usually imagine. In today's podcast episode, we will become inner explorers together, lifting the veil of mystery to discover what the self we often take pride in or cling to actually is, how it is formed, and why understanding that there is no fixed self can bring us unexpected freedom and peace. Now, let's begin the journey of discovering the interesting stranger right inside you. Part 1. Who am I? Seeking the definition of a seemingly familiar self. Before delving into the idea of no fixed self, let's take a moment to think together. When we say I, myself, my ego, what are we usually referring to? Is it this physical body? I am this body, with this height, this weight, this skin color, this hair. We often care a lot about our bodies, take care of them, worry when they are sick, feel proud when they are healthy and beautiful. Our emotions, feelings? I am happy. I am sad. I am angry. I like this feeling. I hate that feeling. We often identify ourselves with these temporary emotional states. Our thoughts, ideas, memories? I think that. I believe that. I remember in the past. I am a logical/creative/practical thinker. We often consider these streams of thought, viewpoints, and memories as an inseparable part of the self. The social roles, the titles we have. I am a mother/father. I am a doctor/engineer/teacher. I am a successful/failed person. I am an introvert/extrovert. We often define ourselves through these roles and titles. Our hobbies, talents, personality traits. I like reading books. I am good at playing the piano. I am a patient/hot-tempered/humorous person. Or is it something deeper, an unchanging soul, a real master controlling all of the above? Many of us have an implicit belief that there is a core, unchanging self that always exists, observing and experiencing everything. Usually, this self we identify with is a synthesis, a mixture of all the above elements. We believe there is some entity called I, possessing this body, having these emotions, thinking these thoughts, and playing these roles. And we often try very hard to protect that self, to make it better, stronger, more recognized. But wise masters from ancient times, after a process of deep observation and contemplation of the nature of reality, made an extremely surprising and revolutionary discovery. This self, that we often mistake for a solid, separate, and unchanging entity, is actually just a temporary combination of many ever-changing elements. And there is no fixed master behind it all. Sounds a bit hard to believe, doesn't it? So what actually is that self, if it's not a fixed entity? Part 2. The Symphony of 5 Elements. This self is just an ever-changing aggregation. From the perspective of wise masters, what we usually call I or ego is not actually a single, fixed thing, but rather a process, a flow, an ever-changing aggregation of 5 main groups of elements. Imagine yourself is like a wonderful symphony, created by the harmony of 5 different types of instruments, and each of these instruments constantly changes its melody. Those 5 groups of elements are The group of material elements. Our body, this is the most easily recognizable part. It is our physical body, including bones, flesh, skin, internal organs, and everything that constitutes this form. Always changing. As we discussed in episode 6, this body is never static. Cells are constantly being born and dying. We grow up, age. Health is sometimes good, sometimes weak. Even our external appearance changes over time with diet, exercise. Example, you might lose a few pounds after an illness or gain weight after a holiday. Your hair might turn gray, your skin might develop wrinkles. Clearly, my body today is not entirely the same as my body yesterday or 10 years ago. So if I am this body, then which I is the real I? The group of feeling elements. What we sense, this includes all the sensations we experience, which can be pleasant, joy, delight, comfort, unpleasant, sadness, pain, anger, fear, or neutral, neither pleasant nor unpleasant, just a normal sensation. Always changing. Our feelings change constantly, depending on what is happening inside and outside us. A compliment can make you happy. Criticism can make you sad. A cool breeze can bring a pleasant sensation. A cut on your hand can cause pain. Example, this morning you woke up feeling full of energy and joy, but just one unpleasant message or an annoying phone call, and that feeling can disappear instantly, replaced by frustration or worry. So is I that joyful feeling? Or is I that frustrating feeling? Or is I none of those feelings, because they all come and go very quickly? The group of perception elements, how we conceptualize, remember, label, this is the mind's ability to recognize, remember, conceptualize, differentiate, and name things and phenomena. It includes notions, concepts, mental images, memories of the past, and imaginations of the future. Always changing. Our perceptions are also not fixed. How we see an issue can change when we get new information or when our mood changes. Our memories can also be distorted, embellished over time. Example, when you were young, you might have been very afraid of the dark, imagining all sorts of scary things in it. But as you grew older, with more understanding, your perception of darkness changed, and you were no longer as afraid. Or perhaps you used to love a certain dish, but eating it now, it doesn't taste as good as you remember. Your perception, your conceptualization of that dish has changed. The group of volitional formations, driving impulses, our intentions, decisions, habits, and psychological reactions, these are more active elements, including our will, decisions, choices, formed habits, prejudices, biases, and also our automatic emotional reactions to certain situations. They are the motivations that impel us to think, speak, and act in certain ways. Always changing. Our intentions can change. Habits can also be formed or changed through training. Prejudices can also be eliminated with increased understanding. Example, you might resolve to exercise every day, but after a few days, that intention might weaken due to laziness or other reasons. Or perhaps you previously had a negative prejudice against a certain group of people, but after having the opportunity to interact with and understand them, your negative intentions and feelings towards them might change completely. The group of consciousness elements. The mere capacity for awareness of an object, this is the most basic ability of the mind, the knowing when an object appears. For example, when the eye sees a flower, there is a knowing of that flower, eye consciousness. When the ear hears a sound, there is a knowing of that sound, ear consciousness. When a thought arises in the mind, there is a knowing of that thought, mind consciousness. Always changing. Our consciousness is also not a fixed entity, but it always arises and ceases along with the object it cognizes. It also depends on the state of our senses and other mental factors. Sometimes our consciousness is very clear, sharp, when we are awake, focused. Sometimes it is vague, distracted, when we are tired, sleepy, or inattentive. Example, when you are attentively reading a book, your consciousness is focused on the words, the ideas in the book. But if a loud noise suddenly occurs, your consciousness will immediately shift to cognize that noise. Your stream of consciousness is always changing its object. So there you have it. This self we often think of as actually just a temporary combination, a continuous flow of these 5 groups of elements. There is no fixed conductor controlling everything. There is no unchanging soul hiding behind. It is the interaction, the ceaseless movement of these five groups of elements that creates what we call my life experience. And because all five of these groups of elements are always changing, arising and ceasing, with nothing fixed or eternal, the self formed from them cannot possibly be a fixed, unchanging entity. This is the intimate connection between the law of everything is always changing, which we discussed in Episode 6, and this idea of no fixed self. Precisely because everything is always changing, there cannot be any self that is unchanging, that exists forever. If there truly were an eternal self, it would never age, never get sick, its emotions would never change, its thoughts would never transform. But what is the reality? Our bodies, emotions, and thoughts are constantly changing, every second, every minute. This might be a bit difficult to accept at first, as it goes against what we usually believe. But when we begin to contemplate and observe ourselves more closely, we will gradually realize this truth. Part 3. Letting go of the illusion. The great benefits of understanding no fixed self. After having dissected the so-called I and realizing that it is just an ever-changing aggregation of five groups of elements, many of you might wonder, so, what's the point of understanding this? Does it bring any practical benefits to my life, or is it just a bunch of abstract philosophical theory? The answer is a deep understanding of this teaching of no fixed self brings immense and concrete benefits, helping us live a lighter, freer, and much more peaceful life. Significantly reducing anxiety, fear, and affliction. Most of our human suffering and unease stem from clinging, from mistakenly identifying with the self and what is mine, like my property, my reputation, my lover, my opinion, my body. When we realize that there is no fixed, solid self to cling to, we will gradually let go of these attachments. Less fear of loss. If I am not this property, then when that property is lost, I still remain, and the pain will be greatly reduced. If I am not this reputation, then when that reputation is damaged, I am not destroyed. Example: someone considers their expensive car as part of their successful self. When the car gets scratched or damaged, they feel immense suffering, as if they themselves have been hurt. But if that person understands that the car is just a vehicle, a temporary possession, and their self does not depend on it, they will experience much less affliction, less fear of changes in oneself. If I am not this beauty, this youth, then when the body ages, when beauty fades, I do not disappear. Acceptance will come more naturally. Less greed, less desire to possess. When we no longer overvalue the self and mine, we will have less desire to have so much, to hold on so tightly. Less anger, less aversion when the self is threatened, when someone criticizes me, insults me. If we no longer identify ourselves with those ideas, those emotions, anger will have less chance to erupt strongly. Example: when someone is criticized for an opinion they expressed, if they cling too much to my opinion must always be right, they will feel personally attacked and react angrily. But if they understand that the opinion is just a temporary product of perception and their self is not threatened by that criticism, they can listen more openly or defend their viewpoint more calmly, developing compassion, empathy, and a deeper ability to connect with others. When we are no longer so focused on our own small, selfish ego, we will have more space in our minds to open up to others, to understand and empathize with their difficulties and suffering. We will realize that, just like us, others are also just an aggregation of ever-changing elements, also have their own desires, fears, and afflictions. This helps us reduce judgment, criticism, and instead cultivate a more tolerant heart, a deeper empathy. Example: when seeing someone behave badly, instead of quickly concluding that person is bad-natured, we might think that perhaps they're going through something difficult or are being dominated by negative emotions, just as we sometimes are. We will also more easily recognize the intimate connection, the interdependence between ourselves and all people and things around us. No self exists in complete isolation. We are all part of a vast web of life, influencing and being influenced by each other. This understanding will nurture compassion, altruism, and the desire to contribute, to help others. Achieving a state of true inner freedom, the gateway to liberation from bondage. This is perhaps the most profound and important benefit. No fixed self is one of the crucial keys for us to attain a state of liberation from the shackles of affliction, of unsatisfactory things. When we deeply and directly realize that this self we usually cling to is just an illusion, a concept created by the mind, then all the suffering, all the bonds originating from attachment to that self will gradually dissolve. We are no longer deceived by the self, no longer led by it into endless pursuits of desires or mired in unnecessary fears. This is true freedom, freedom from illusions, freedom from afflictions, freedom to live a full, peaceful, and meaningful life. Encouraging us to live more mindfully, more consciously in every moment. The teaching of no fixed self also reminds us that no thing or phenomenon in this life arises spontaneously, nor does it exist independently or randomly. They are all formed from countless different causes and conditions interacting and supporting each other. This is another profound concept we might explore in future episodes, called dependent origination or interbeing. This understanding helps us live more mindfully, more consciously of all our actions, words, and thoughts, knowing that they all have impacts, are all part of a complex web of cause and effect. We will recognize more clearly the interconnectedness, the interdependence of everything in life, thereby adopting a more responsible, grateful, and harmonious attitude towards the world around us. Example: when eating a bowl of rice, we can be aware that this bowl of rice is the result of the labor of many farmers, transporters, sellers, and also of sunshine, rain, and earth. This awareness helps us appreciate the meal more and feel more grateful. In summary, understanding that there is no fixed self does not mean we deny our own existence or become apathetic or indifferent to life. On the contrary, it helps us live more authentically, more profoundly, more freely, and more peacefully, when we are no longer made miserable by illusions of a selfish, fragile, and demanding ego. It opens a door for us to connect with the true nature of ourselves and of life, a nature that is inherently vast, free, and full of potential. Part 4. How to experience the absence of a fixed self? Suggestions for inner exploration. After understanding the concept and the great benefits of realizing no fixed self, many of you might be very curious to know: so how can I truly experience this? How can it become more than just a nice theory in my head, but a real experience for me? This is an incredibly important question, because true understanding comes not just from hearing or reading, but from one's own direct contemplation and experience. Experiencing the absence of a fixed self is not an easy task, and it requires a process of observation, reflection, and persistent practice. Here are a few suggestions you can try to begin this journey of discovery. Practice objective self-observation, as in the keys, dwelling in the present, and inner calm and mental steadfastness. Spend time each day sitting quietly and observing what is happening within you, without judgment, without identifying yourself with it. Observe the body. Feel the sensations in your body: hot, cold, tense, relaxed, itchy, painful. Just observe them come and go, constantly changing, without thinking, "This is my body. It must always be healthy, comfortable." Observe emotions. When an emotion, joy, sadness, anger, fear, arises, just recognize it as an emotion that is present. Observe its intensity. See how long it lasts before changing or disappearing. Don't think, "I am a sad person," or "I am an angry person." Detach yourself from the emotion. Observe thoughts. Streams of thoughts come and go in your mind like clouds in the sky. Just observe them. Recognize their content, without being carried away by them. Without believing these are my thoughts, they must be right. When you practice such observation regularly, you will gradually realize that all the components you usually consider I, body, emotions, thoughts, are actually constantly changing. Nothing is fixed, nothing is permanent. So, where is the I you are looking for? Try to deconstruct the so-called I. Whenever you have a strong thought about I or mine, e.g., I am very proud of this achievement of mine. This car is mine. I love it the most. My opinion is the most important. Try to pause for a moment and ask yourself, what is this I that is feeling proud? Is it a temporary feeling of elation? Will this feeling last forever? This car of mine, if it gets damaged or lost tomorrow, will I still be I? Or will I have lost a part of myself? This opinion of mine, where did it come from? Is it from experiences, information I've absorbed, all of which are also always changing? If I get new information tomorrow, will this opinion remain the same? Asking such deconstructive questions will help you gradually see the fragility, impermanence, and conceptual nature of the so-called I and mine. Contemplate interconnectedness and interdependence. Dependent origination reflect on the fact that nothing, including yourself, can exist in complete isolation. Your body needs air to breathe, food and water to survive, all of which come from outside you. Your thoughts, your knowledge are formed from learning, communicating with others, from books, from life experiences. Your happiness or suffering is also often related to other people, to events happening around you. When you see this interdependence clearly, you will realize that the idea of a completely separate, self-existing I is actually an illusion. We are all part of a vast network, constantly interacting and influencing each other. Practice letting go of small daily attachments. Start with small things. For example, if you really like a certain shirt and always want to wear it, try not wearing it for a day. Or if you always have to drink coffee in the morning, try not drinking it for a day. Observe how you feel. Is it really as terrible as you imagined? Or are you still perfectly fine? Practicing letting go of small attachments will help you gradually get used to the feeling of not having or no longer having something you used to consider mine, and realize that yourself is not diminished by it. Read books. Listen to sharings on this topic from reliable sources. Learn more about the idea of no fixed self from books, lectures by wise masters, or insightful psychologists. This will give you more perspectives, more prompts for your own contemplation. The journey to experience the absence of a fixed self is an exciting and challenging inner exploration. It requires perseverance, honesty with oneself, and the courage to confront deeply ingrained beliefs in our subconscious. Don't be discouraged if you find it difficult to understand or accept at first. Just take it slowly, step by step. Observe, contemplate, and practice. Gradually, you will discover profound truths about the nature of yourself and life, and thereby find a freedom and peace you never knew before. So, we have journeyed through a topic that is perhaps quite thorny, but also incredibly important on the path to finding peace, exploring the idea of no fixed self. I hope that the sharings in this episode 7 have brought you new perspectives, new prompts for you to begin your own journey of discovering the interesting stranger right inside you. Remember, understanding that there is no fixed self is not to make us negative or deny our own existence. On the contrary, it is the door for us to step into a freer life, less tormented by illusions and attachments, and thereby able to live more fully, more lovingly, and more peacefully. Thank you for taking the time to listen. If you find this content valuable, even if it's a bit hard to digest, but still want to share it with friends you care about, please don't hesitate to like and share. And of course, please subscribe to the Unlocking Inner Peace channel so we can continue to journey together in future episodes, exploring more secrets to a more meaningful and peaceful life. Wishing you a new week full of joy, many interesting discoveries about yourself, and that you always find lightness in knowing that you are not limited by any fixed self. See you in the next podcast episodes. Goodbye.